always gets it right. Sean's the wild card with a laugh in the night. On FolkLOOR, they banter about the latest fight. FolkLOOR podcast, stories non-stop. Tim Damon gossip and Tech's new crop. Loud opinions like a punk rock pop. Marcus, Jason, Sean, they never drop.
Hey everybody! Welcome to the FolkLOOR podcast. Sorry about that crazy interruption. I was having the video, had the volume up on Kick, and I was getting feedback. So if you heard that, that was my fault. But yeah, welcome to the FolkLOOR podcast. I'm here with Sean and Jason Armbar Farley.
Gonna bring you to submission.
well again, man, thanks everybody for being with us today. I'm doing some producing at the same time I'm trying to do the intro, so we're trying to get stuff streamlined and it's making things a little complicated, but we got it. So there's our FolkLOOR TV logo. Also, we want to make sure that everybody joins us. If you're watching this on Twitter or YouTube or wherever you're watching this, be sure to join us on kick.com/LOORTV. We're trying to put everybody into one place. And also, one of the cool things about joining on Kick is that we have custom lore emotes. So all the loot coins and the lore logos and some of our shows and stuff, you can spam in the chat over there. It's really great. So go to kick.com/LOORTV, LOORTV, and then you can go ahead and subscribe there. So and follow us on Kick as well. That'll be really great too. So welcome everybody. Welcome to the show. It's a great show. It's probably one of our last shows because AI is going to completely destroy the film industry.
By next week, we will be replaced by AI podcasts.
It's over. It's over, everybody. It's done. That's a wrap on 100 years of Hollywood history. We're never gonna recover. Is the music just on loop?
I guess so. It's a bop, though.
It's what happens.
It is. I mean, it's normally on loop in my house, but
that's funny because I've been on loop all day too with this.
5-hour energy.
It's a 5-hour loop.
The FolkLOOR podcast is sponsored by 5-hour energy.
How are you guys doing?
Doing great.
Doing great. The sun is out. It's a new day. Still have the use of all of my limbs. It's a good day.
How's your? Now you're kind of recovering, right, from a little sniffles?
I am. Yep, I got feverish last week and went down for multiple days, which I don't know when the last time I was down for multiple days.
But he did the show anyway.
You did the show. It's so much.
He still is here. He
didn't take a sick day.
Completely doped up on Dayquil and Advil and caffeine to make it through. So I'm like a pro athlete in that way, like just give me the shot. Get me back out there for the second half.
Yeah.
Speaking of pro athletes, anybody here watch Welcome to Wrexham?
Not the new episodes.
It's a perfect show. I
really?
Just love it. Yeah,
it's a great show.
Wow.
Yeah,
perfect show. That's
I think for a documentary sports reality TV show, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so I recommend it.
Maybe the best documentary sports reality TV show ever.
You got the Michael Jordan Chicago Bowl.
Yeah, but that's not reality though. That's just a documentary. It's not reality TV on top of documentary.
Yeah. Is it reality though?
I think he's doing the head tilt. Like when you do that weird dog whistle in your head, your dog goes,
yeah. I get that from my dog. Yeah, is it though? Because it's
it was all completed before they started. They didn't make it as they went. Isn't that what reality TV is? It's like a documentary, but you make it as you go.
Aren't the athletes making it as they go with the games?
Yeah, but the Michael Jordan one was about the 90s.
Is Hard Knocks documentary or is it reality TV?
Wow.
Hard Knocks.
I don't know. We need a robot. We need a robot to answer this question.
That's the first time I've ever heard Jason say those 3 words. I don't know.
That's true.
I've never heard him say that. You're right. This is the last podcast.
I need to get humbler.
It is not. It is not the last podcast. I don't want people to.
No, yeah, it's a joke.
Get you to subscribe.
It's a joke. I have some bad news if you guys want it.
Okay.
I want it.
Want some bad news? I don't know if you've ever seen these before, but I'm holding 2 non-winning tickets, and so I thought that. So I've been playing this a little while, and I thought last night was the night we were going to win. So we actually scheduled it in the calendar. I did a Google Calendar invite. It said, 8:05 p.m. we're winning the lottery. I figured somehow like power of positive thinking.
Yeah.
So I mean, I had already put the Lamborghini in the cart. I hadn't checked out yet, but it's in the cart, and I had all this stuff planned, and what property I was going to buy, and I'm still in a little bit of a state of shock, but didn't win. So that's the bad news.
I'm surprised too.
Is that weird?
That is weird
because they're charging more money for them. They used to be $2, now they're $5. So I thought for sure I'd win.
Did your chances go up by 60% by them charging 60% more?
Apparently not.
Man, what a world!
Sorry to start it off on such a somber note, but I thought it would be good share time. So you know where my headspace is.
Yeah.
Well,
shall we get into the main story and make it even darker and more depressing?
Yeah, but I have a haunting suspicion we're going to shed some light on it and just come out of it joyous.
Yeah. I'm always that way. So I think Google just announced their new service called Google VEO, and it is basically it's a video maker to be able to make videos with AI generated prompts. And not only that, because that's been around for a little bit, the ability to create video through prompts. I think what's really incredible about this is the ability to add voice acting with it. And I also think the memory of it is probably really helpful. Like the character designs that it creates, it remembers and puts into scenes. Whereas I think with the other ones, people have tried that, but like the character's always kind of a little bit different on each generation. Anyway, what's been presented in terms of people testing it and that sort of thing has really, it's really, really impressive. It's done everything from I've seen clips from documentary style. I saw one clip of a stand-up comic doing a joke, and the laughter came in at the right type, the right type of laughter for the joke at the right timing, which the specifics of that I thought was kind of insane. Really, really massively impressed by that for sure. And I think well, should we play the clip, or did you want to talk about it first, or should we play the clip that
I don't know, because I think I hear some theme music kicking in. Do you?
Oh,
you hear that?
Oh yeah, I it's coming.
It's like I'm like an animal, like a pet that can hear an earthquake 2 minutes before it hits.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. It's time for Jason's Trivia Lesson.
All right.
Well,
that brings us to Jason's Trivia Lesson.
So here is the trivia question for the week. In June of 2012, a new social media app, Vine, was famously founded. And the founders built a beta version of the app that featured, you hear it say 6 seconds, but technically it's 6.8 second videos. They advertised it as 6 seconds, but 6.8 second videos. And in the process, they invented a number of things. Autoplay, auto loop was famously founded. They mobile first editing. They invented algorithmic content surfacing, which I thought was fascinating. But with the beta, just the beta, Twitter purchased the entire company, tech and all, 2 months before launch. So the question is, what was the purchase price of Vine pre-launch? How much did Twitter buy Vine for in beta before it even launched?
Man, I hope we don't have any Y Combinator fans on this.
They bought something. Did it have any proof of concept, or
they had built a beta and they walked in and they showed them the beta on a phone, and Twitter said, "We want that," and they bought it.
That's all it took.
That's all it took. They didn't even have a pitch deck.
Who are those investors?
That's even better than this.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Like they hadn't written a pitch deck. They hadn't, and because they weren't planning on pitching it, they were just building it to launch. And then somebody said, "Hey, I want you to meet some people," and they were like, "Who?" They're like, "Oh, the people that own Twitter." And so they said they put a nice shirt on with their jeans, and they flew out and walked in, and they just held the phone up and said, "Here, play with it." And they played with Vine for a little bit, and then they bought it.
I can't believe that happened for something that wasn't a B2B SaaS.
I know.
Like unbelievable to me.
Wow.
It's So they bought it pre-launch, and
I think we're putting too much work in our deck, Sean.
I think so too, man.
I like, what in the world? Like, that just happened?
That is amazing. So the question is,
what was the purchase price?
What was the purchase price?
How much did they pay before Vine even launched for Vine?
Oh my gosh. Someone's sitting on a yacht in Croatia right now because of that deal.
Yeah, one of the guys, he took the money and he just disappeared. He just left. He just left society with the money that he got from the deal, and never did anything else. And he just lives his life. It's brilliant.
Wow.
Has never done an interview, anything. One of the founders.
That's amazing.
Pretty smart.
That's a good one. That's a good trivia question, and a departure from some of the previous Jason's trivia lesson. I like it.
Yeah. Went tech. The Powell Bros, we are doing great. Thank you.
Hey, Powell Bros.
Hello, Powell Bros.
I like that. Wow. Okay. Well, I guess we're going to get this answer.
Stick around to get the answer.
Yeah, we'll get to that in we'll get to that answer at the end of the show. But now we have to come back into, despair and loathing with,
fear and loathing in cyberspace.
Fear and loathing in cyberspace with Google VEO. As I said before, it is a completely automated video editing tool where you can basically build out your entire scenes pretty realistically. I would say more realistically than AI is done. And I would also, I think this is important to mention, this is only like first gen.
Yeah.
Right. Like, this is like,
yeah.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Will Ferrell spaghetti eating test, right? Like, that's the
Will.
Have you?
Sorry,
Will Smith.
Will Smith.
Yeah, the Will Smith spaghetti eating test. Are you familiar with that, Sean?
I'm not. I would tell me more.
So the Will Smith spaghetti eating test was like originally back in Midjourney, you could like do like one frame at a time. And so in order to do videos, it was this pretty complicated process of like one frame at a time, and every frame looked completely different than the last one. but somebody made a video of Will Smith eating spaghetti, and it looked like his face was distorted.
It was terrifying.
It was terrifying and hilarious all at the same time. But since then, that's kind of become the standardized test to test AI video generation, because there's a lot of physics at play and stuff, and eating, there's 100 noodles and they're going into your mouth at the same time, and each one has its own physics and stuff like that. So it's kind of become this standardized test. And I was looking at the Google VEO, version of Will Smith eating spaghetti, and I was like, wow, like that's still, like, it's insanely impressive. Although I would argue it's still not quite there yet. But again, you're talking about from the first Will Smith spaghetti to to this one with Google VEO is 2 year, like 2023 to 2025. Like that's it. And now you can pretty much fool the world with AI.
Like in that example, are they using any companion software like Runway or Midjourney, or is that just pure VO3?
The one that I saw was pure VO3. Is the video we're about to watch, is that all Google VO?
Well, no. You're going to find out.
It's a mix.
It's a mix.
It is, Jason, because I was just going to play the short film, but
just play the short film. Then we can talk about it.
And then you can talk about it? Okay, let's do that.
I'm on the edge of my seat, and I'm hungry now that you talked about spaghetti.
Why don't you guys, while I pull it up,
tell jokes? Talk
about what you would like to eat tonight, Sean.
Oh, man. I just, today, well, first of all I've got right now in the kitchen is 5-hour energy drink and salt from my bug assault rifle. So I'm going to see, I might make like a salty energy shake.
Just pour salt in and then shake it.
Just shake it.
Yeah. That was my bad. I selected it to download, but forgot to hit save before the podcast started.
You pesky save button.
What a failure on my part. All right, here it is. Got it right.
No, it's okay. It gave us time to talk about salty 5-hour shakes.
Yeah.
Because that's what the audience came
for.
Hello, humans. I am Dr. Chip Motherboard.
So this is the intro. Robotics. And what I would like to do is just go right to...
Oh, wait. What? Wait.
What?
Not gonna watch it?
Well, we are, but I want to watch the film, not all the discussion about it.
Oh, I see. Because that's just the setup. Okay.
Yeah.
You're about to see, including Chip and all the other visuals, were created with AI video tools, including Google VO3. Most of the audio is also AI, except for my narrations. So stick around to the end to see how we did it. And action.
All right, here we go.
Rise and shine, Joanna. It's 6:15 a.m. It's going to be a great day. Oh, you'll feel better after a workout. I've sanitized your sports bra.
Okay, for anyone who's not watching the video, this is like a fake TV show of a robot and a young lady. And
I got the Optimax 5000 to make my life better. It has me waking up early.
Here's a tasty breakfast.
Eating healthy. I'm working out harder than I ever thought I could.
Remember, Jane Fonda always said, go for the burn, sweat. Get that chin up. That all you got? Pick up the pace.
The robot's great.
The breathing.
Yeah.
I
gets
was an
good,
man.
engineer
This is
on the Optimax 5000 robots. We designed them to optimize workplace efficiency.
Here, some
Creative
deep
name.
research for your presentation.
Chip
And the
Motherboard.
robots really got creative with that.
Time for your coffee IV drip.
It's a great robot.
Max really keeps me sharp at work.
Do you not know how to spell February? Put the R before you.
Though now that I think about it, he's not usually the nicest.
Pop music rots your brain.
He's really becoming a lot. And there's really only one place I go to get a break from him.
This is funny.
My privacy policy prevents bathroom entry. My ultra-sensitive microphones indicate you are not engaged in elimination activities.
I'm going to start using that term from now on. Elimination
And that's when I realized
activities.
I had to do something.
Great sound design.
Now it has why does it have a battery and a power cable?
Joanna, please don't do this.
Now we're back to battery.
She's tearing apart the robot. It's a very graphic scene for our young audiences. Please look away.
Sun creeps in through the window pane.
That
sounds like a song that our band would
Joanna, I
do.
made you your favorite breakfast.
I think our band
Now
did
that's
work
more
for
like
that.
it.
All right.
That's
Really,
All right.
again?
So that was it.
yeah.
Uh,
Is that your first time watching that, Marcus?
well, I watched it before. I know I wasn't supposed to, but
Oh,
I kind of got distracted. But I'm glad I did, because I noticed a bunch of stuff on the second time that I think is there's obviously like continuity errors, like the extension cord and the battery and the drill, and she's walking. It's like there's those sort of things that are really weird. I think the physics are really bad in a lot of scenes. I think physics is just generally hard. There's one where she's running, it looks like she's flying, that sort of thing. But overall, like, it felt consistent. Like, it didn't feel like at any time I was watching a completely different, like the lighting felt the same in between shots when it was supposed to. I mean, it should. I mean, it's basically analyzed every video uploaded on YouTube in the past 12 years.
I mean, let me ask
To be
you, like,
able to know.
if you just saw that and you didn't know anything that there was AI to do with it, do you think you would have instinctually, the first time you watched it, picked out that it was AI?
I think there's it's like right on the inside of the uncanny valley curve. So it's still in that uncanny valley. So I would have known something is off. But I also have seen a lot of AI stuff. So I can pretty much I just kind of detect it. So it'd be kind of hard for me to, there was a video I saw on Twitter where they used the actual audio with an AI generated video. I think it was like Pete Buttigieg or whatever. He was saying something, but I think the video was AI, and the audio was real. But I was like, is that like I had to like think like if the whole video was fake, or like just it was just something off about the lighting on the shot.
Well, I think there's a rumor in DC that Pete Buttigieg is an AI creation. So
that is 100% true.
yeah.
But yeah. So I mean, 6 months in 6 months to a year, we're probably gonna have a completely different conversation about how serious this stuff is. I'm also, I mean, there's a lot of like geopolitical stuff to be concerned about as well. But yeah, I overall, I think filmmakers have something really exciting at their hands right now that they can use to create films and movies and TV shows in a way we haven't seen before.
Jason, what say you? What are you thinking?
I think it is we're watching a new art form, Bud. That because I don't think it's gonna be a while before it's in the same category as other movies. But it's like when animation first started, and at first people just go, "Oh my gosh, that's drawings coming to life," right? You don't look at it and say, well, there's some unrealistic moments or something. You just say, I can't believe I'm watching drawings come to life. I think that AI storytelling is going to develop in that sort of way. So the principles of storytelling are going to stay the same, but it's going to function like a whole new art form.
Ooh, that makes me think of a question. You probably know the answer to this. It makes me think about the patterns in reflective or responsive human behavior. So I wonder if you rewound back to, let's say, the 20s or 30s, or whenever the animation first came out, 30s, 40s. Was there a group of really diehard actors that were just enraged that animation was even a thing? And I would imagine there probably was a group that were just like a little tribe in Hollywood that were just, wanting to destroy animation. What do you think?
Yeah, that's not, there was like, you can't do that. That's not real. It doesn't take real actors. It doesn't.
Yeah.
There probably, I mean, I know
There
there was
probably
that
was.
when photography started, you had a lot of painters saying that sort of thing. Like, oh, a photographed portrait is going to put out portrait painters, and that. So
same thing with talkies and silent films, right?
Yeah. Right. That's a good example. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it, like, if you do kind of follow patterns, yeah, we're just probably at this is just yet another inflection point where this is going to happen. And at some point, everyone's going to have to just surrender.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting point what you said, Jason. It's the dawn of a new art form. That's probably like really, really a good example, but because there's still a human behind it that's coming up with these stories. And there was probably several people that worked on that short film we just saw. And there's going to be, I think there's going to be legitimate jobs for prompt writers for AI and stuff like that. Whether it's within the studio system or through independent film and whatnot. But I think, people said the same thing. Like, I mean, this always happens. There's people that have the $100,000 RE camera, and they think they're elite, or they're some sort. They're at this different league because they have $100,000 RE camera. And then you have Black Magic that just comes out. I
Yeah.
saw this on Black Magic's website yesterday. They have a 12.5K Black Magic camera that's less than $6,000. Are you insane? So the fact that the cinema grade tools are getting less expensive is a great thing. Like, I remember, we built like lights out of like Rubbermaid containers and shower curtains, and then like some Home Depot, just cut a hole and put the Home Depot lamp behind it, and it looked great. Like,
That's
it looked
awesome.
great. It was like probably $20 a light is all that it cost us to make. And we were uploading stuff on YouTube, and we were told nobody watches long videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
cut it down to 3 minutes, and now like everything's like an hour long and stuff like that. But so people thought YouTube was going to destroy Hollywood too. I don't think that's true. I think people just gave up on Hollywood because of YouTube. So you have this entire younger generation, nobody's making stuff for them because they just assume they're on YouTube and TikTok all the time. And they are on YouTube and TikTok all the time, but it's like this circular sort of death spiral where you just assume that they're not watching content because they're on YouTube and TikTok, so you don't make content for entertainment for them. And so it just spirals out of control. And but every time there's new technology, there's always this fear. It's right. Like, even that movie we just saw, that short film we just saw, it's still like dystopian sci-fi because people still always think the worst out of science fiction as opposed to like trying to, hey, let's create, what are the positives of this tech? I honestly think it's like super brain dead, basic level, low level, just to constantly ramp on like the dangers of technology. Everybody does that. It's not unique or special. It's not interesting. But to actually look at technology and say, what's the value of that? You know, it can either be nuclear weapons or it can be nuclear power, right? And you know, you focus on nuclear power. You don't have to constantly fret on nuclear energy, nuclear weapons, because when you do that, you get a bunch of nuclear regulations, and suddenly, after 50 years, nobody knows how to build nuclear power stations anymore, right? So, you know, I think we need to look at this with a much more positive take. But
I like what you said about it's funny when you said about the Ari. I was thinking about, this is back in like 2010, 2012. And I knew a lot of DPs and directors that like just went all in and bought the Ari Alexa, thinking that was just gonna, you know, up their game and they'd have this huge edge. And it's really it's funny / sad to think someone dumped like 100K and it didn't matter. To your point, it didn't matter how great your camera was. You either are a good filmmaker or you're not. The Ari isn't gonna get you over the edge.
There's a question from Victor. He says, is it an art form when AI is referencing existing art out there? Oh, okay. Here we go.
Light the match. Jason, you pour the kerosene on it.
Yeah. No, that's a really good question, because I do think that there are ethical questions that need to be worked through. Or, you know, that's a big part of the question is there's ethical uses of AI and unethical uses of AI. And I think that's a conversation that we've got to have right out the gate, because I think the ones that are obviously ethical are, you know, like Brainy Pixel. One of the they've got an AI. They're doing really cool stuff with AI and animation, but they are creating all of the assets and then limiting their AI to the assets that they've created. Because they want to make sure we're not stealing anybody else's work, right? So, you know, that's obviously you know, well within the bounds. And then you've got the unethical uses, you know, where you just take somebody else's work and, you know, imitate it. But that's something that Hollywood's been doing all along. You know, Hollywood's infamous for stealing people's work. So I do think we've got to work through those questions, but I also think we're too early to even know. Like, most of us don't even know how AI functions and works. When you say, oh, well, it's a large language learning model, I know that phrase. I don't even know what that means, though. So I think we should be having the conversations. How do you ethically use AI? But I think we have to start by assuming there is an ethical use, and there is a good storytelling use, but still work through those things. It's just like animation, you know.
I just want to say that everybody references existing art when they create something. You're inspired by this artist, or you know, Wes Anderson, for example, has a very distinct style, and you know when somebody's like riffing off his style, like you know when, you know, that movie, people say, oh yeah, that was kind of feels a little Wes Anderson. Like, now it's nowhere near what it was, because I don't think you can out Wes Anderson because he's
especially now with his new Netflix shorts. It was like Wes Anderson doing a Wes Anderson.
yeah.
I liken AI or something like VEO to the drum machine, going back to the late 70s when Roland and Lynn and all these manufacturers were creating the drum machine, and live drummers were like, hell no, we got to get rid of this, stop this. And people started incorporating the drum machine into music, and it actually sounded great. But then it became a deal of like, now who could master the drum machine? Because then all of a sudden everybody was doing the same drum patterns, and you could hear an Roland 808 in every track, every hip hop track. And then you got into this era of who can master the drum machine, and then that became an art form into itself. So, so I kind of see AI going in that direction where the standout artists are going to be the people who are masterful at prompts, leveraging AI and the human element to it. And I think that's going to be, and I think you said something about this yesterday, Marcus, but that's going to be the difference is the true artist is going to be I guess the person who can master the technology and not just sort of do the cookie cutter basic run of the mill.
Well, I think of it like sampling records. Like there's a great documentary called Scratch, just on the history of.
Do you have to pay for samples though?
Well, so this is why I think of it. So in the 80s, people were sampling records just at block parties, and then rapping over them, and develop the art of sampling. And people then would record the block parties. They would record the people messing around with samples, and then sell mixtapes. And then every once in a while, something would break through and become popular, and nobody knew if that was allowed or not. But they weren't just playing the song; they were taking the song and making art out of the song. Right, the song was one of the paints on the canvas. And it wasn't until Paul's Boutique, the Beastie Boys album, that the Beastie Boys they sampled like over 100 different things in that album, and they made sure they went and got the rights to every single one, made sure everybody got paid, and then everybody said, oh, well, that's how you do it. But the art form wouldn't have even existed. And so now if you get sampled on a big hip hop record, you make a lot of money, right? Because all of that got settled. It came out in the wash. They figured out how to do it ethically in the process. But you wouldn't have the Beastie Boys Paul's Boutique album if you didn't have all of that, what now would probably be considered piracy, but it wasn't at the time. They were still working through the art. They were still developing the art form. And it was, necessary.
With AI, like the cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
Every single thing that Disney has ever uploaded to their YouTube channels, Google owns the rights to. Sean, you pointed this out too in terms of the Google VEO, is that if you make something like that short film, Wall Street Journal has a right to use, and they can monetize it however they want. But also Google now owns all that property as well for sampling whatever. So, but the truth is they've already had that in YouTube for 12 years since 2005. Is it 20 years now? 2005, 2015? Yeah, 20 years.
Yeah,
20 years. Wow, that's crazy. That's insane. So 20 years, Google has owned the rights of pretty much every video to do what they want with. And, Disney's agreed to it because some intern at Disney checked the box when creating the first Disney YouTube channel. Right. So I don't think you can let that, you can't put that back. Right. So it's like, we're kind of like at this point, we're already there and we're already live in this world where all data and information and stuff is already just, it's basically everything's owned by everybody. And I think, the sampling thing's a great point, because, an argument could be made that, well, if you own that record, you own the noises you make from that record, right? Like if I take that record and I scratch it, like I own that scratch. It's not the music isn't what's already made. It's right. Like it's a completely
There's
different...
some nuance to that in the music world about
I'm sure the RIAA has all sorts of nuance.
But that's what they had to work out is if you're scratching a record, are you making new music out or not, right? They had to work all that stuff out.
Yeah, there's precedents now that
but now there's precedents. I think we're going to end up with precedents the same sort of way. Like, you can make art. I just saw Victor's comment. You can make art in the style of Miyazaki, for example. And if you wanted to make for yourself art in the style of Miyazaki of your family, right? Just to use. I don't think there's anything unethical about that. But he put a comment about a guy getting booted from the San Diego Comic-Con because he was passing off AI as art by these other folks and selling it, but it was actually AI art, right?
Well,
that would be a good example of unethical.
Yeah, I listened to a clip of Sam Altman. He made this point where if I tell Chat GPT or Suno, make a Taylor Swift song, is a completely different copyright issue than making something in the style of Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's just that that's such a, I mean, that is a legal loophole that, because obviously Suno already has downloaded and stored all of Taylor Swift's music, and so it knows exactly what that is when you ask it to do that. So it's really like
Suno will reject that though. Suno will not take you referencing any name, so you have to use a full generic description. You can't say. But taking it back to filmmaking,
but I just want to. Yes, you can't say Taylor Swift, but that it absolutely knows who Taylor Swift is,
right?
But because it can create that exact style of music, if
based on descriptors.
Correctly.
So there's a whole story about this with Suno and Michael Jackson. Someone wanted to make a song similar to Michael Jackson from the Thriller album, and Suno rejected the request. So the person who was trying to do it had to go back and describe Michael Jackson using full descriptors and adjectives the best they could. And then they got a track that actually sounded kind of like, a Michael Jackson album. But I was just thinking, Jason, as we were talking about artists, and, I think about Quentin Tarantino. I mean, his career was built off of borrowing from genres.
Right.
So he wouldn't even exist as a director if he didn't have that history to borrow from. He'd probably be still working at the last Blockbuster, maybe.
Right. Well, and here's a good example. So I was working on a script with a producer that was it was called Sensibility, and it was a high school retelling of Sense and Sensibility, and we'd made one of the characters a folk singer, and so I'd written some songs for her. So I recorded them, in my and sent them off. And the musician whose job it was to receive the songs and then record a good version of them, because my version was not good, right? My version, but it was enough that he could record it. He sent back to me a Fountains of Wayne song and said, "Did you know how close your song was to this?" Now that Fountains of Wayne song is on a number of my playlists. I listen to it all the time. Valley Winter Song. It's one of my all-time favorite songs. And so it's in me, right? That song is in me. And so when I had to sit down and write a folk song, it came out. It wasn't the same chord progression, but when I listened to it, I was like, oh, you're absolutely right. Like different melodic phrasings and things where I really like it. But it was because I had ingested it so much that it was what came out of me. And that's one of the things that I think as artists are always doing that. And AI, it does that faster. But you have, if you want to be a good artist, you have to actually notice when something like that is happening, and then fix it, so to speak. If the AI is producing stuff that is just recycled, refried something, and you don't notice, then that's your fault.
Yeah. I mean, the same would be true for when, if you were a lighting guy on set and everyone was using halogen lamps, and you just completely were like, I don't like LED lighting. Like you just got left behind, right? Because everyone's using LED lighting now. You hardly ever have old school halogen bulbs. They generate too much heat. The actors are sweating on set under the hot lights and stuff like that. So once LED lighting became cost effective, everybody started shifting to that. And, so the technology always changes, and you're absolutely right. The artists have to adapt to that. But
well, it's like Kodak, whether you worked in a Kodak lab or a telecine lab, like you're done, you're gone. Like, like
Right.
all of that went away. And I always want to make sure.
I think Christopher Nolan's kept Kodak alive.
Yeah.
But all the kidding aside, I think it's important too to not be too glib, or at least be aware of the people. I can see where a lot of the anxiety and the frustration comes from people that are just worried about losing their job. And I think as much as I don't want to stop technology, and I think we got to embrace this stuff and not run away in despair, I do want to acknowledge the people that are clearly freaked out because they may be out of work. And I think that's where a lot of it, people sometimes couches like, oh, it's going to destroy the art, and they get sort of precious about it. But the reality is they're really just bummed because they might lose their job. And so I think a lot of it comes from that. Right.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think that human element is important. And it's one of the unfortunate parts of technological advancement. It was the same thing happened when computer animation, when Pixar came out and everybody started trying to do computer animation, you had all sorts of really talented animators find themselves out of work. And
that's a great
sad
story, because you did have that thing with Disney where they said computer animation is cheaper. We're going to go that route. We're going to put all our eggs in that basket. They shut down Disney Animation Studios, and they stopped doing animation, and they said nobody wants to see it anymore. So they misjudged the data, because it wasn't that people wanted to see computer animated movies. It was that the computer animated movies were really good.
Yeah.
Right. And so you had this time where, the animated movies weren't that great. They weren't doing well in the box office. And then the animated movies, I mean, you had Toy Story, which is one of the greatest animated movies of all time. It's computer animated. And then you had Pixar just doing just banger after banger, like 10 in a row. I think they had, where it was just great movie after great movie. And then, Disney comes in, they buy Pixar, they corporatize Pixar. And, I don't think Pixar has really made like anything really significant really since that. Since Disney has kind of really had time to really get into Pixar, they haven't made anything.
Incredibles 2, but I don't know if it counts when it's a sequel. that one was still pretty.
Yeah, I mean,
amazing.
but like even Toy Story 4, Toy Story 4 was like awful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
man, there's 4 of those.
Well, there's going to be a 5th one, right? And of course I'm going to see it.
Yeah, I know.
As much as it should have stopped at 3, I'm hoping like they try to just go and fix 4, because I think it messed up canon in pretty substantial ways. But anyway, so that's it wasn't hand-drawn animation that people didn't want to see anymore. I think people actually would love to see a hand-drawn animated film. And I think if the efforts and resources were put into that, John Lasseter was gonna bring that back. He was brought back to be head of animation. They fired him. He was going to be head of animation. Then he got canceled because he hugged people too much. But
then he went and made Wild Robot, right? So
then he went. He did that, right? He did Wild Robot.
He was the producer or he was the executive over it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, it's sad that
of course he did.
Yeah,
of course he did. Yeah, but see, this is the thing, though. Again, like it's the artist, not the medium. And I think we always have these cycles of, oh no, the medium's taken over. The medium's taken over. It's not the medium. The medium is only as good as the artist behind it. Like, it's going to take a lot of skill, a lot of time, and effort to really be good at prompting. And it's going to take, we're in this really early stages too, like where, the what you see with Google VEO is not that great, right? Like the physics are still really off and stuff. I'm actually
I don't think kids are going to care about that though.
No,
I got to spot that out. Like, I don't think
it's
young kid's going to go, well, her jumping jacks didn't really look realistic. I just think,
it's like Crunchyroll.
Exactly
They watch it because there's great storytellers in anime right now, and that's why they're there. They're not it's that's what the great stories are, the ones that find an audience.
Yeah. Speaking of, I want to go to more of I'm more concerned about like really like the use of it for fake stuff, like for fake news, like actual reporting.
Well, that's why California was the first state. And I live here in California, and so don't anyone get the wrong idea that I'm promoting California, because I'm not. Just want to make that clear. But I think we're the first state where I think we attempted, I don't know if it maybe fell through, but make a law about deepfakes, and this is like, if you think about what we just watched, I mean, again, Marcus, you've studied AI, but the average person, if they watch that Wall Street Journal piece, they would think it was completely real. I mean, Joanna Stern looked real in every single shot.
Yeah.
And so if you were using that for political warfare, which it inevitably is going to be
5 years from now, it's going to be indistinguishable.
Well, no, not 5 years from now. We've already seen deep fakes. We've already had some close calls with some deep fakes. That's the part that's a little bit more alarming, and because there's no way the cat's out of the bag. There's no way to stop it. But I think the question there is, I don't even think lawfare or creating laws to stop it's going to work. I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, you're going to see it. You're going to see a video of a politician or some terrorist leader do a video or whatever, and it's by the time someone calls out that it's fake, it's too late. And there's nothing anybody can do about it.
Well, so the reason I bring that up is because the creator of Succession is doing a movie with HBO. It's coming out soon. I saw the trailer. It's called Mountainhead, and it stars Steve Carell and some other guys. And the plot is basically they're like 4 billionaire tech company owners who went on a retreat in this secluded cabin, and while they're there, there's an AI deep fake that basically unsettles the entire world. And so those 4 guys plot to figure out how they can actually gain control of the world from their log cabin. And it's from the guy that made Succession, and it looks amazing, and it feels like Succession, and so it looks really good. But I think, like, when you watch it, you're like, oh, that is probably going to be a real life scenario. Because all it takes is, like, let's say, imagine a deep fake of Putin saying nuclear missiles are headed towards Ukraine right now. Like, that's all it takes.
That's all it takes.
And
by the time we figure it out, it could be too late. Not to get dystopian, but
I was watching this video actually about that, and it was somebody who did, I think she wrote a whole book on the nuclear football that the president carries. And there is no time to the generals will tell you there is no time to determine if the threat is real. Like, you act as if it's real, and like they have they call it the black book, and it has all the possible targets by country, but they remove in the black book, they remove, like, the population size, they remove the name of the city, and it's just by code, because they don't want the president to have any sort of emotional ties to, but it basically just lists the cities without naming the cities by what the nuclear bomb will disrupt in terms of infrastructure.
We just had a president that didn't have any emotional ties 4 years from 20 to 24.
I don't think he had any.
How did that go?
I don't think it was just emotional ties he didn't have.
Reality ties.
Ties to reality.
Physical movement.
We had an auto pen though.
Auto pen. I want to do a fun story about Auto Pen, the musical.
Yeah, that's right. But what's the difference between an auto pen and a deep fake?
That's a great point. See, every time we do one of these podcasts, it leads into some great idea.
We already had a whole presidency that was a deep fake.
He was an auto pen. He was the auto pen. We had 4 years of auto pen.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Rule by auto pen.
Roll by auto. What is it? We need a term for that.
We do. I'm going to come up with
autopencracy or something like that.
Yeah, autopencracy. Yeah, we lived under an autopencracy for 4 years. Is that like an autocracy or an oligarchy? It's similar, but it's different.
Yeah, I mean imagine like the president of the United States, pulls up his Chat GPT, he logs into OpenAI, and he says, "Hey, what is the best possible solution for this diplomatic sort of thing?"
Yeah.
And Chat GPT gives him an answer, and he goes, "All right, we'll do that."
We'll do that. Oh my goodness! I got a theory I want to run by you too, and I want to get your live feedback, even though we've only got a few minutes, so I'll be fast. Do I have time?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm thinking about real world, how all this is going to play out. I think maybe, and this is a little bit of a hopium for all of our friends out there that are creators that really that are feeling uneasy about this AI thing. What if down the road, what might happen is that there's a growing group of people that really yearn for true human generated creative programming? Not unlike how people revolted against manufactured processed food in the early 70s, and they just said, "I'm only buying organic." And then finally we got to a point in like the 90s where organic was everywhere. Whole Foods was built off of organic foods, and they just priced it higher. And all of a sudden we put a label of organic on it, and it became popular. I wonder if that will happen, where you'll have a growing audience that seeks out something that wasn't machine built. I don't know if that'll happen, but what say you? Do you think you'd see that ever happen?
I think it's going to be like punk when factory-made disco was coming out of all of the record labels. You had punk, you had hip-hop coming out of Brooklyn, and it was because it was real.
Yeah, I think
that's what I think.
That's a good analogy. I like that. Hey, speaking of Armbar Farley, do you have an answer for us on the
I do. Okay, so the question was, in June of 2012, the new social media app was founded, and the founders built a beta version, showed it to Twitter without a pitch deck or anything before it had even launched, and Twitter purchased the entire company 2 months before launch. And the question was, what was the purchase price? How much did they make in an unlaunched app? $30 million. That's what they sold Vine for pre-launch.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
That
unbelievable.
Maybe he's not on a yacht in Croatia. He's on a sailboat in Croatia. I got to change that. Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, 30 million then.
Yeah, that's still a nice bag.
That is. Yeah. And there were only 3 founders.
They got the bag.
He got the bag for not even having to put the fries in the bag.
Right. Yeah. So 3 founders, about 4 months of work, and they sold it 10 mil each.
I think that's just a good strategy, just to build companies that you have no intention of actually running or building, just to get it bought by another tech company so that you get squashed.
Yeah.
Nice strategy.
Yeah. And then Twitter blew it up and then shut it down. So
wow.
And then but we got Jake Paul from it. So
I thought we were trying to look for a positive. All right, our band has been working. They are ready.
Yeah,
what's our band got for us?
They are ready. While I load it up, why don't you read this comment by Victor on the screen, and then I'm gonna.
I like what Eric July said. The creatives need to have a relationship with the people to sell their art. Otherwise, they are no better than the AI. No relationship. Very good. Very true.
All right. Our band says this is Mental Hearts and a Digital Dance.
In the flicker of the cell phone screen's glare, robots plot and play without a care. Stories spun by wires and code so tight.
For anyone who's wondering, that's flamenco funk.
We're out of sight. Your hands to the beat of their schemes. Metal hearts with electric dreams. Play items buying back what they sold. The vines are taken.
What genre is this?
Flamenco punk.
Flapunko.
Flapunco.
What is flamenco?
It's Spanish folk music from Spain.
Thank you for clarifying, Professor. It really is flamenco punk.
It is.
Yet another genre created on FolkLOOR.
Unbelievable.
Spinning circles, the flamenco blaze. Leather boot stomp in the robot's head.
Leather boot stomp in the robot's head. Beautiful. It's poetic.
A punk rebellion tearing them apart.
Some emo there.
Screamo.
Screamo, emo. I'd like to see Grandma dance to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do need to add the claps in there, huh? Maybe we can do a new version with the claps.
Yeah.
Beautiful. It's a nice song.
It is. Yeah.
All right, why don't you
Flapunko, everyone? You heard it first on the FolkLOOR podcast.
All right, everyone. Subscribe to lore.tv, LOOR.tv. Follow us on Kick, and go ahead and come back. We'll be back here again next week for the FolkLOOR podcast. Thanks so much for joining us.